Hey guys, I'm Srishti. Let us today learn Chapter 1, Resources and Development of Geography of Class 10th. Now, what do you mean by resources? So this is the definition of resource. Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable can be termed as resource. Alright guys, this is the definition of resource. Keep that in your mind. Now, the process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interdependent relationship between three factors, guys. Remember, nature, technology, and institutions. So, human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. Do you think that resources are free gifts of nature as it is assumed by many? So, you can think of an answer. They are not, alright? Resources are a function of human activities. Human beings themselves are essential component of resources. Alright? They transform material available in our environment into resources and use them. These resources can be classified in the following ways. So again, this is important, guys. Classification. Now, the first point is on the basis of origin. So it is of two types, biotic resource or abiotic resource. Second, on the basis of exhaustibility, renewable and non-renewable. Third point, on the basis of ownership, individual, community, national and international. Alright. Now the fourth point says, on the basis of status of development, potential, developed, stock and reserves. So guys, that was the fourth ways in which we can classify a resource. Here you can see this chart. Resources broadly termed to natural or human. Natural resources are classified to two, renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources again in continuous or flow, example wind and water. Again biological into natural, vegetation, forest or wildlife. In case of renewable, there are recyclable, example metals, and non-recyclable, example fossil fuels. For humans, it is structures and institutions. Second, quantity and quality. So we'll learn about them a little later in the chapter. So now, types of resources on the basis of origin. There are two types. Remember guys, try to remember it, biotic and abiotic. So biotic resources, what are those? These are obtained from biosphere and have life such as human beings. So which is biotic resource? Human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock. Alright guys, these all are a biotic resource because they are obtained from biosphere. What is a biosphere? Biosphere is a sphere of living beings. Alright. Now coming on to abiotic resources, what are those? All those things which are composed of non-living things. Non-living things are abiotic. Example, rocks and metals. They are non-living things. Alright. So this is easy. Now coming on the basis of exhaustibility, we have seen there are two types. Exhaustibility means it can be finished or not. Okay. Renewable resources, the resources which can be renewed or produced by physical, chemical or mechanical processes. By three things: physical, chemical or mechanical processes are known as renewable or replenishable. Okay. resources. For example, you see solar and wind energy, right? They are sort of unlimited. Okay, water, forest and wildlife, etc. The renewable resources may further be divided into continuous or flow. Alright, we have seen it. Now, non-renewable resources are, these occur over a very long geological time. Now, a very long geological time. Example, minerals and fossil fuels are the examples of such resources, right? These resources take millions of years in their formation. Some of the resources like metals are recyclable and some like fossil fuels cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their use. So they are limited, right? On the basis of ownership, the third category, okay, there were individual resources, community owned resources, national and international resources. Alright, look at them one by one. Now the individual resources, these are also owned privately by individuals. Okay, a single person owns that resource. So for example, many farmers own land which is allotted to them by government against the payment of revenue. Revenue means a tax of money, right? In villages, there are people with land ownership, but there are many who are landless. Okay, yeah, we all know that. Urban people own plots, houses and other property. Plantation, pasture lands, ponds, water in wells, etc. are some of the examples of resources ownership by individuals. Alright, we can make a list. So individual means a particular person has a whole of something. Alright. Now second, coming on to community owned resources. These are the resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. Example, village commons, right? Grazing grounds, burial grounds, alright, village ponds, etc. Public parks, picnic spots, these are community owned, so they are community resources. Playgrounds in the urban areas are de facto accessible to all the people living there. Now the third point is national resources. Technically, all the resources belong to the nation, right? Because it is in that nation. The country has legal powers to acquire even private property for public good. Alright, you might have seen roads, canals, railways being constructed on fields owned by some individuals, so they get the money out of it, right? Urban development authorities get empowered by the government to acquire land, all the minerals, water resources, forests, wildlife, land within the political boundaries and oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles. This thing, that is 19.2 kilometers from the coast, termed as territorial water, and resources therein belong to the nation. So the thing you have to remember, guys, is this 12 nautical miles from the coast. Okay, these are the example of national resources. Now coming on to international resource. There are international institutions which regulate some resources. For example, the oceanic resources beyond 200 kilometers of the exclusive economic zone belong to the open ocean, and no individual country can utilize these without the concurrence of international institutions. Okay, so it is important to read the do you know, guys. Alright, so do you know that India has got the right to mine manganese nodules from the bed of the Indian Ocean, from that area which lies beyond the exclusive economic zone? Okay, so we have got that right, and India is the only country, out of which name there is an ocean, Indian Ocean, right? Okay, now coming on to that, on the basis of the status of development. Okay, the potential resource. resources which are found in a region but have not used. It is there, potential meaning it has a potential and can be used as a resource in future. For example, the western part of India, particularly Rajasthan and Gujarat, have enormous potential for the development of wind and solar energy, but so far these have not been developed properly, because wind energy and solar energy, to extract them, it is a very, I can say, a tedious or say time taking, and we don't have that technology yet, but surely in future we will be able to harness those energies from in India itself. Now, developed resources which are surveyed and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. Okay, now it is in the process and have been developed. The development of resources depend on technology, right? I told you guys, technology is a major factor, and level of their feasibility. Okay, you all know this. Now coming on to stock. Materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have the appropriate technology to access these, are included among stock. For example, water is a compound of two influences, hydrogen and oxygen. We all know water is H2O, right? Which can be used as a rich source of energy, but we do not have the required technical know-how to use them for this purpose, hence it can be considered as a stock. Now, reserves are the subset of the stock. Subset meaning a smaller version of it, which can be put into use with the help of existing technical know-how, but their use has not been started. Alright, reserve is like a reserve. I have kept this that I will use later, something like that. These can be used for meeting future requirements. River water can be used for generating hydroelectric power, but presently it is being utilized only to a limited extent. Thus, the water in the dams, forests, etc. is a reserve which can be used in the future. Now, development of resources. Resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life. We all know this. It was believed that resources are free gifts of nature. Like early people does not know, okay, they kept utilizing it. Now us also. As a result, human beings use them indiscriminately like without giving much thought about it, and this has led to the following major problems. Now let us look at the problems. Depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals. Now there will be a quote from Gandhiji: there is enough for everyone's need but not enough for everyone's greed. Okay, accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, that is haves and have nots, or rich or poor. Now those who have resources are rich, right, and those who have not are poor. So this discrimination has come from accumulation of resources in few hands. Now, indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crises such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation. So, these four words may seem small, but they have really affected our climate. And why it all has happened in the first place? Because of the indiscriminate exploitation of resources. Okay, now an equitable distribution of resources has become essential for a sustained quality of life and global peace. So equitable distribution of resources, that is equally distributing them, okay, has become essential, is becoming important, right, for a sustained quality of life. Sustained meaning like you can continue it. Quality of life meaning the life you are living with a given quality, like you have food, shelter and clothing, right? To a proper basic level, basic needs are being fulfilled. And global peace as in there are so many potential of wars may happen, so for that not happening, to prevent them, so we have to divide the resources equitable distribution. Alright, now if the present trend of resource depletion by a few individuals and countries continues, the future of our planet is in danger. This is very much explanatory. Therefore, resource planning is essential. Now we have learned a new word, guys. Resource planning is essential for sustainable existence of all forms of life. Now, sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. So this word sustainable development, here we will read about it now. Sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generations. This is the definition, and remember it, learn it, by heart it. Alright. Now, Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. I know it's far back, but it is important because there was a first time Rio. Okay. In June 1992, more than 100 heads of states as in Prime Minister, President, like that, head of that country, okay, met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the very first time. International Earth Summit. Okay. International Earth Summit happened in 1992. Rio de Janeiro, that is in Brazil. That is where? Tell me in the comments. The summit was convened for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. Okay. The assembled leaders signed the Declaration on Global Climatic Change and Biological Diversity. The Rio Convention endorsed the Global Forest Principles and adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century. Now, what is that Agenda 21 that they have signed or adopted? It is the declaration signed by the world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCERT. Remember it also, okay guys, which took place at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It aims at achieving global sustainable development. Alright. It is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation on common interests, mutual needs and shared responsibilities. So they thought about environmental damage, how to fight it, alright, how to fight poverty, how to fight diseases. Now you can see this is a pandemic going on this time. Now all are in this together and we all are fighting it, right? One major objective of Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. Okay. Resource planning. Planning is widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources. Okay. It has importance in a country like India. Okay,